Film Dorks, what's going on? Welcome to another exciting episode of Unframed. The original plan for today was to do another one where I drove my car and got air in its tires, but when I went to start my car... Oh boy. Yeah. How's everybody doing in this increasingly mad world that we're living in? Seems like the COVID stuff is not, in fact, getting under control and is getting worse by the day. I hope everybody out there is staying sane as best they know how. Speaking of sanity, about 2 weeks ago now, I showed my fiance Fight Club. It was the first time she'd ever seen that movie, and then she showed me American Psycho. And those two films make one hell of a double feature. The way that they both work as satires of the culture that they were written in, but at the same time still have a lot to say about the culture at work today. They're two very dark comedies, and that's actually how I prefer to think of both of those movies, as satires of American culture. And it's interesting to me the number of people with both American Psycho and Fight Club that I've talked to over the years that love those movies and idolize the main characters and do not get that the movie is making fun of them. It's been kind of interesting because I went from watching those two movies back to back to Steven Spielberg movies, going from axe murderer Christian Bale to Indiana Jones. Luckily, I started, doing stuff mostly in chronological order, working from Duel and Jaws, and those are much edgier movies than some of his later stuff. So it kind of helped to ease in a little bit, but it's still Steven Spielberg. It's still a little bit of a fluffy teddy bear at the heart of it, which is very different. The other thing, as I've been working my way through Spielberg, is I've really started to get conscious of the fact that I think there are good movies and then there are great films. And on the one hand, yeah, duh, no potato. But, like, for example, I think Raiders of the Lost Ark is a great film. I think Jaws is a great film. Schindler's List, Saving Private Ryan, these are amazing movies that show a level of understanding of humanity that you don't necessarily get in Spielberg's more fun popcorny movies. I give Jurassic Park, for example, a lot of credit for the innovations of the film, and it's a fun time. It's not one that I need to watch more than maybe every 3 to 5 years. And then there are movies like Saving Private Ryan or Schindler's List that I kind of feel like I can't watch more often than 3 to 5 years. They're just so intense and so real. But on the other hand, I just have to put in a word here about the atrocious piece of shit potato that is Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. I'd never seen it, and then I said, well, chances are, with the angle I think I'm going to be taking on the Spielberg video, I probably need to watch at least a few of the ones that are not that great. So I watched it. Everything about it just screams, we don't know how to make a movie. The cinematography, sometimes I like Janusz Kaminski's work, but sometimes his work can veer a little too far in the direction of synthetic, so that, like, the way things are lit, you go, oh yeah, this is a movie. There's nothing real going on here. And almost every shot in Kingdom of the Crystal Skull is lit that way. So much of the movie is just CGI, and it's not particularly good CGI. One of the best things about the first 3 Indiana Jones movies, everything that could be done with practical effects was done with practical effects. And all of a sudden they said, nah, let's throw that out the window. Let's make a movie that never for once looks real. Let's have somebody brought in to write the script who's never written an Indiana Jones film, who doesn't seem to grasp the character, because none of Indiana Jones's dialogue sounds like Indy. They didn't know what to do with Karen Allen. That's really obvious. She was such a well-written character and well-directed character in Raiders. Once Indy tells her, none of the other women were you thing, she spends the entire rest of the movie pretty much just going, She looks like she's on tranquilizers or something. You guys know I love movies. I'm always talking about how much I love movies. But one of the other things that is a big love for me is old time radio shows. I love all those creepy horror suspense radio shows from the 30s and 40s and 50s. I used to listen to a lot of podcasts at work. And with everything still kind of on lockdown, a lot of the podcasts that I listened to on a regular basis, the fiction ones seem to have gone on hiatus until the pandemic is over. And the nonfiction ones sometimes are just really
Potato.
depressing. So I need my fix of, radio dramas. So I've been listening a lot more lately to those old shows. I've been kicking around the idea for a few years of maybe I should start a podcast. And so I'm working on planning out a podcast that would help me explore my love of old time radio. I don't want to say too much more about it here because hopefully at some point it's going to be a thing and it's going to be out in the world. And I don't want to spoil anything. I've also got this other podcast idea that I go back and forth on whether I want to do, and I think I may start trying to figure out how to get that one off the ground as well. And that one's based on kind of a pet peeve of mine. I've noticed with a lot of the more human interest type nonfiction podcasts, a lot of them kind of turn into, well, here's my friend, this person who wrote this book. Here's my friend, this person. Not that the stories they share aren't valuable in some ways, but sometimes it feels like some of these podcasters are just using it as an excuse to get paid for chatting with their buddies. And I've been thinking of a way to kind of poke fun at that while also contributing to the actual point of human interest stories, which is kind of saying in some ways we're very similar across the board, and that there's some value in certain parts of the universal human experience, just acknowledging that they're there and saying, yeah, we have all these differences. I mean, right now, anybody living in America who's not aware of the fact that not everybody is the same has their head in a bucket of shit.
Potato.
But sometimes there's still value in saying, okay, yeah, but we also have these shared experiences, and let's talk about that. So those are two podcast ideas I'm kind of toying with right now. Other than that, not much going on. I hope everybody's staying safe, happy, and well. Thanks as always for watching, and I'll see you on the flip side.